Hey guys, Attorney Walter Hnot. So I just tried to go live on Facebook. I finally got it to work so that we could do like a live session with the phone on Facebook. What a super back end program Facebook is. Oh my goodness. They did not have stuff set up like what I'm used to on YouTube. YouTube is way ahead of the curve when it comes to actually posting videos. But let's get right to the topic of this video. Attorney Walter Rudolph Hnot III, Disability Resolution PA, the most viewed and subscribed to Social Security disability attorney in America. Let's get right to this real quick. There was an article produced, and I thought they did a really good job on it, from www.afge.org. And what they were talking about is essentially the wait times. Now, I deal with the wait times every single day. Initial filing, reconsideration, ALJ hearing levels, appeals council, federal district circuit, Supreme Court, etc., through the whole docket system, right? And the problem is, and remember, there's two dockets. There's the SSA docket and the federal docket as well. The problem is these wait times are out of control. As you know, Commissioner Kijikazi, as part of one of these SSA talks, said, hey, look, by the end of this year, it should be starting to get better, but it's not. So let's go through this real quick and talk about what they're saying with statistics as to how 2023 compares to essentially 2020, 2018, 2017, all the way up to 2023. Let's go through it real quick. Title of the article, October 23rd, 2023. If you have to wait months for your Social Security benefits, blame Congress. Well, the reality is, people aren't waiting months, they're waiting years. And the initial step, which should never take as long as it is, which is like over 15 months at this point, it's now taking over a year just to have an initial filing adjudication, which is just mind-bogglingly, absolutely craziness all over the place. Let's get right to the article though. Did you know that more than 10,000 people die every year while waiting for their disability benefits? That 5,000 every year are forced to file for bankruptcy while waiting for their cases to be resolved. Now, here's some of the basic things you should know. There are some people who don't fall into this world, right? Those who go into short-term disability benefits, they don't fall into this world. Those who go into long-term disability benefits, they don't fall into this world. Those who have VA benefits, which are now much faster and usually easier to obtain with a higher percentage and quicker percentage than it was before because they've had new rules released, they don't fall into this as well. So the people who are working, got injured, they don't fall into this. They have STD and LTD-based benefits. The people who come from the military, they get the VA benefits, they don't fall into this as well. But those who basically don't have a job with LTD benefit options available to them, which is quite a few people, and some people don't even realize that they do have them available to them, and then they just go ahead and stop, and they never reach out to the administrative people at the corporation when they could have had LTD benefits. So bottom line is this: there's some people who don't fit into this ridiculous wait without other benefits, right? But then a lot of people, I would say the grand majority of people, do fall into this situation. And 10,000 of them die every single year waiting as they go through the bankruptcy process for Social Security disability benefits, which is something I would imagine weighs very, very heavily on the commissioner, because that's tough. And think about that for a moment. Imagine somebody, imagine it's a military thing, right? You're sending a pilot, okay, into the ocean territories, right, to go ahead and do some reconnaissance mission. Something pops up, you have to redivert them. They run out of fuel, they crash. Temperature in the water is too cold to survive. You know that they're going to die. And as a result of that, they pass away, bottom line, in the water, okay? You've essentially sent somebody as the military people, the chief, the et cetera, whatever, to their death to go ahead and find out some information that would be crucial for that particular situation, whether it's a nuclear strike or whatever. So that's one person. The Social Security Administration deals with 10,000 of those people. Okay. Put another way, these are essentially, this is like sending, entire battalion into this, it's actually the numbers, but the bottom line is you get the idea. Let's say that there's even more military people and they're fighting this battle. You're sending them into this battle, and then it comes back and there's just so few of them left. That's the same idea. That's the 10,000 people who just pass away waiting for these benefits. In which case, I want to point out, I think this is very, very important. I see from New Jersey, very cool. I'm going to be there in probably about another month and a half. I'm in Florida right now. But here's the bottom line. I think this is really, really crucial that you guys think about this. When it comes to these individuals, a lot of them have impairments that could be essentially lengthened when it comes to the time of their life. They could live longer if they had Medicare or they had Medicaid treatment, but they're not able to access those because, bottom line, they can't tap into the program benefits. And the problem is that Medicaid emergency coverage is becoming very difficult to get, even for the hospitals, where you come in, there's a major problem, and they can't get Medicaid to cover it. So the bottom line is, it's a bad situation. There's so many areas that could be fixed. So many areas. And I should do a video on that. And maybe, I don't know. Let's do a video on that in the not too distant future. Cool. Let's keep going through this. The consequences of the backlog and the disability program are real, as more deaths in this vulnerable population are likely if Congress fails to do its job and fully fund and staff the Social Security Administration. I just want to point out one thing from that. They said vulnerable population. The most vulnerable population are disabled children. That's what it is. Disabled children. Okay. Very high abuse rates in the disabled children category. Same thing for disabled adults, very high abuse rates. Okay. Now, here are the facts specifically from this article. Since 2010, the number of Social Security beneficiaries has gone up by 25%. So the amount of people that have basically, gone onto the program has gone up by 25%. While the number of employees has gone down by 14% during the same time. SSA's budget has shrunk by 17% considering inflation. Due to budget cuts, the SSA has not been able to replace more than 10,000 employees, resulting in the lowest SSA staffing levels in 25 years. So 10,000 employees that left, they are not able to basically replace them or afford them or get more people to do the job. So they are operating at where they were with the amount of people that they were 25 years ago. So go 25 years back. We're in the 90s, folks. We're in the 90s. That's how many people are working for the SSA. I understand we have new automation technology. I understand we have AI in there. I understand we have digital faxes, which is a big deal. Scannable forms. Oh, such a big deal, right? With little barcodes on them, all that stuff. But let me make something very, very clear. You still need the personnel to go through this stuff. It's not auto, AI to the level that they need it to be to go ahead and have this few people working on it. Now, here we go. Chronic understaffing has consequences. Since 2018, initial disability claims processing time has more than doubled. Processing went from 3.4 months in 2018 to 7.2 months as of July 2023. Okay, so they're talking about basically DDS processing a claim, usually about 3.4 months compared to 6 months that jumped to in fiscal year 2022. Honestly, that 2022 number is not accurate, at least for multiple states in the South where it's significantly more than that. Next one, since 2019, since 2018, disability reconsideration processing time has increased by 78%. In fiscal year 2018, it took an average of 3.4 months compared to 6 months in fiscal year 2022. Now, just to give you guys some, forecasted timelines here, right? 2018 was Commissioner Saul's era. Okay, that was the era where Commissioner Saul was squeezing the program to try and make it run as cheaply as possible and have as much automation as possible. He was trying to make a corporation out of it. And the Social Security Administration has never been a squeezable corporation. It's always been how do we help our American people who are disabled, who are retired, who are old, who are, basically survivors, spouses, things like that. It's never really meant to be the squeezed lemon that they were trying to make it into. So as we noticed this, there was a slowing down during Commissioner Saul's era of basically making this program work as it should. Okay, which is not good, which was very bad. Since 2019, average wait times for calls to be answered on the 800 number have increased by 115%. They went from 20 minutes on average in fiscal year 2019 to now 43 minutes in June 2023, which feels about right. Usually when you call the SSA the local FO or the 800 number, which most of the local FOs don't even pick up calls anymore, it goes straight to the 800 number. It's about 45 minute wait to get somebody on the phone. And then usually those 800 number people don't have access to the information you need, or they don't know how to answer the question. It's the least amount of training that I've seen with those individuals where they can't get direct file details. There are now 4.2 million backlogged items pending at the payment centers. Again, there are now 4.2 million backlogged items pending at the payment centers. Put another way, there's a lot of people, including the attorneys. There's probably about $100,000 owed to the law firm that has not been paid. So just to clarify things, how healthy is the Social Security Administration? Not healthy at all. So 4.2 million backlog items pending at the payment centers. In fiscal year 2022, Okay, it took 6 months on average for SSA and state disability determination services to process disability reconsideration requests. And it keeps getting worse. But here's a nice photo, by the way, of people essentially in a situation saying SSA in crisis. Okay. And that's what happened. The unions came out and said, look, this agency is in crisis. It's not good. It's very, very terrible. It's not a good situation. Now, there are over 1 million claims pending at the state-run disability determination services. So they've got a 1 million person backlog. SSA anticipates a 15.5 month wait time for a disability hearing for the 2023 fiscal year after an average wait time of 11 months in 2022. Again, the SSA is expecting 15.5 month wait time. So remember when people are like, I could do it in 3 months, which we used to do it. The fastest claim we ever had was 2 days, then 2 weeks, and 2 months. Really, normal one was more like 5 or 6 months kind of gig. Well, now we're at 15.5 months. So if you're sitting there wondering like, I don't understand, why is this happening? It's because they don't have the money and the people and the system to run everything with this few of employees. That's why this is happening. It's not because like your attorney is just magically slowing it down. That's not it. There were tricks that you would see certain firms do that we saw other firms do, and it drove us up the wall because people would get very, very livid, and then they would call us and scream at us about their other law firm. The bottom line is this. What you have to understand is that they don't have the people to process the claims any faster. They have stacked as many claims as they can on the desks of those DDS reps to just keep processing. And they're hiring people straight out of college to go ahead and do these adjudications. And guess what? They're quitting because it's a hard job. And when you mass stack files on them, it takes like 2 years to learn these jobs. It really does. It takes 2 years to learn a Social Security job because it's highly technical. Okay. All right, here we go. Quotation. None of us think it's okay for applicants to wait 6 months for a decision on the disability application. But that's the level of service Congress and the public should expect absent sufficient resources. AFGE SSA Council 220 President Jessica LaPointe testified at the Senate Special Committee on Aging's field hearing in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania, on how to secure Social Security for future generations. Now, let me make something clear. The SSA wants to sell the idea of Social Security benefits to those who are in essentially the millennial group. I'm technically 1 year either in millennials or 1 year too old to be a millennial. But the point is with this whole thing, okay, the point is my generation does not believe in Social Security benefits. They don't bring them up. They don't talk about them. They think they're BS. They don't think they're going to be there when they need them. They think they're paying a tax that basically will be stolen from them when they need it when they're older. There's some accuracy to that. As you know, people do not have a right to their Social Security benefits in the sense of if they try to take them away from you or change them so you don't get as much, you have no legal right to go ahead and go against them because you don't have a constitutional Supreme Court given legal right to them. They're allowed to, as Congress, change them as they need to fit whatever modern era problem that's going on. So the problem is my generation doesn't believe in it. It's basically just a tax. We're paying a tax. We're getting screwed over, just like our student loans. It's a really severe tax. My student loans restarted again, by the way. The portion of my student loans that are like the federal government part are almost $900. And then the rest of my student loans, because I'm so old that I have student loans before the government took it over, which are in the private student loan market, those make it all up. So it's around $1,900 per month. Imagine that. My student loans on a special government program cost more than what most retired people get after working their entire friggin' life. Just let that sink in. Let that marinate a little bit, a little barbecue sauce, a little marinara. Let that sink in real quick. Cool. The point said, understaffing hurt morale as employees have to take on additional workload while having to maintain accuracy on a tight deadline. This leads to stress, burnout, and employees leaving the agency, exacerbating the understaffing situation. According to a recent government-wide employee satisfaction survey, the SSA is ranked dead last among large federal agencies, a sharp change from 2010 and 2011, when the SSA was ranked second in the best places to work in the federal government. Remember, the golden era of Social Security Administration programs ended right around 2011, 2012. We know this because of the studies that came out as a result of Binder and Binder basically going bankrupt and having to go ahead and, figure out what they were going to do, because they bought all this TV time, and then another company basically took them on. It's like a mass money company that would purchase them and their, future earnings and things like that. The point is, we actually, as disability attorneys, studied what happened to them as a result of the transition from the golden period of Social Security benefits into the 2013-2014 period, where there was a massive decline in approvals. Cool. Now, next thing, without appropriating the funds to properly staff the agency and modernize our systems, Congress is setting us up to fail, she added. Okay, so let's see. Sorry. Just gave me a bunch of pictures after that. All right, labor leaders are joining AFGE and calling on Bureau of Prison Directors Coley Peters to retain the retention pay incentive. I don't know, that's something different. All right, so bottom line is this. What do you have to know? It's money. It's a money problem. The trust funds are failing. The agency isn't getting enough money to hire and retain employees. Money isn't worth what it used to be, because let's just call it like it is. You go to Walmart, you got to spend a whole lot more. People that are looking for jobs that are straightforward, easy enough to learn, feel good when you're doing them, etc. That's the opposite of what the SSA is having right now. They're having really, really difficult times finding employees and keeping them, because the amount of caseload put on them is massive. They're not feeling really good about the end game of how this all comes together, because, they're denying more people than they've ever denied before. The percent passage rates are lower than they've ever been. So, like, instead of people getting on the phone and being like, yeah, I'm really excited to tell you, you're going to be found disabled and your life's going to change, they're having more calls than ever before to say, hey, sorry, it's terrible. Oh my goodness, yada, yada. So always being in this position of having to basically work claims, to deliver bad news, it's depressing. That's why most disability law firms are not taking on anybody under 50. And pretty much most disability law firms at this point have cut out almost all SSI applicants, and they're only taking SSDI applicants. We're looking at, so we take a very small pool of SSI applicants, and anybody under 50, they've got to send me their medical records first so I can review the whole thing and see if there's really a chance. But I'm telling you, the future of this is that most people who are under, right, they'll still allow the kids up to 18. They'll still allow quite a few of those to go through. But most people that are between 18 and basically, or 22, depending on their school status, and 50, or well, technically 49 in the day before 50, most people in the future in that grouping are not going to be able to get disability benefits unless they're extremely, extremely severe. We're talking like near listing level criteria, because it's just so hard to get a judge to approve them. And here's one of the things that you never hear about on YouTube. It's one of the things that people never talk about, that is never shared, and it's incredibly important. But please remember, there's 142 people viewing this video right now. Only 60 of them have thumbs up. Guys, don't be stingy with your likes. Like, if you like the content, if you like knowing what's behind the curtain of the Social Security Administration when it comes to details, statistics, information from a practicing disability attorney, please hit the like button. Otherwise, these videos don't go up, and basically they're not seen, and then the channel begins to flutter downward. Please remember to like, please remember to subscribe, hit the all button. Here we go. What's happening is the judges have percentages of their approvals and denials, and they're made aware of them. Very straightforward, based off of essentially the math of how many approvals they give versus how many denials they have in a single month. They also look at other statistics, such as essentially, when it comes to these judges, how many claims are basically processed in a day. It's usually just under 2 or right at 2 claims being processed per day per ALJ. Now, some of these claims are pretty straightforward. Claimant didn't show up. Cool. That's an easy one, right? Awesome. You go through the basic ritual, send out the notice. Cool. Doesn't respond. Got it. Next. Perfect. However, okay, when they look at this, the judges are now pulling back heavily from giving as many approvals as they used to. Now, this is due to a lot of things, okay? Number one, the older judges that used to give more approvals, they've either retired or they've passed away. Number two, a lot of the newer judges are specifically trained by the SSA and not a third-party group. So the SSA is molding the new judges in a very different way than the older judges were, which is ultimately equating to a situation where they're not approving as many claims. Number three, the vocational allowance is becoming much more difficult to actually obtain. We're going through like a new dark ages, right? So 2013, 2014 was the ending of the golden age of disability. So when it comes to, the golden age, that ended. But now we're going through 2023, 2024, 2025, that kind of area, a new dark age called the audit phase and basically the restricted phase, where they're not allowing as many people to be found disabled, and they're making it more difficult to get what are called vocational allowances. All right, what are these ways of being found disabled? Let's just get the basics out there real quick. Number one, you have compassion allowance listings. That's where you're really, really extremely severely, you're extremely impaired. Then you have listings, right? You're severely impaired. One of your impairments makes you severely impaired. Then you have grid outs. Your age affects your capacity to go ahead and work. And as a result, you can potentially grid out. And then you have vocational allowances. All of your impairments combined equate to severe functional limitations, which means that you can't do any full-time job in the national economy. It would be work preclusive. Most people are not compassion allowance listings. A lot of those people die early. Most people are not severe listings, right? If you go read the statute, just to explain, I always use this as an example, but a listing criteria. If you want to meet a listing criteria for an amputee, you have to have both hands taken or both feet taken or your entire leg and half your hip. Not light stuff. If you're blind, right? One eye completely blind. The other eye can only see the big E at the top of the chart. That's it. And not even that well. So understanding listings, most people with the single impairment listings are not found disabled because you have one impairment that is severe. And their severe is much different than you get a lot of people that call up. They're like, I'm really bad. And I read the report and it's like mild, moderate. I'm just like, look, you have to understand you're being compared against people who are missing parts. Lots of fusions with multiple failed surgeries. People who are injured in war and never the same after they saw all of those bodies. You have to understand I don't like to go to the grocery store sometimes. Sometimes I do. That is not severe. That's not severe. That is not severe. All right. So bottom line is this. When it comes to essentially the grid outs, that's about age. Vocational allowances, that's where you take all of your impairments and combine them to see if you can't work a full-time job. Part-time jobs are not considered. It's all about full-time jobs. Can you work a full-time job? If you can, you are basically not disabled. If you can't work a full-time job, work reclusive, you are found disabled using the 5-step sequential process. Woo, right? So you've got the initial element, which is all about, are you earning too much? SGA. Did you earn too much that month? Element number 2 is your impairment lasted 12 months or more. Will it last 12 months or more, or will it be terminal? Will you die within 12 months? Element 3, do you meet, equal, exceed a listing? Do you have medical equivalency to a predetermined list of single impairments that you might have that might be that severe as that listed impairment? Then if you aren't severe enough, they do a residual functional capacity. They see what you can. They see what you can't do. Can you lift, push, pull, crouch, stoop, kneel, etc. Remembering, focusing, all that jazz. They do the full residual functional capacity assessment. And then after that, you get to element 4. Can you do your past relevant work? If you can't, can you do other types of jobs in the national economy, whether they are skilled, semi-skilled, or unskilled? And then you look at the SVPs. SVPs are specific vocational preparations. How long did it take to learn to do a job? They're basically looking at all SVPs, but they specifically spend time on those SVPs that are low number. SVP 1, SVP 2, SVP 3. We're talking like a short demonstration to be able to learn how to do the job. You have to not be able to do those to be found disabled. Okay. So I hope that, basically you guys are really excited about leaving essentially a like. If you really want to help me out, I love those reviews. You go to Google, Disability Resolution Florida or Disability Resolution Law Firm. You just put Disability Resolution into Google, pops up, click a review. I love those 5-star reviews. I love waking up and seeing those. You can leave whatever review you want. Now, with all that said, the main purpose of this article is to literally tell you that Congress cares more about funding wars than they do about funding the SSA to make sure our own citizens who are disabled are able to access the benefits to survive. That is the point of that article, just to sum it up and create a box around it. Now, we're going to be going through what is a quasi-secret apology letter from the SSA, and I'm going to be reading that to you specifically in the next video. Please remember to like, please remember to subscribe, hit the all button. I will catch you at the next video, and I will see you in about 10 minutes. Please stay safe. I will see you soon. 10 minutes. We'll catch up. We'll go from there. Thanks so much, everybody. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.